Hey, it's been quite a while since I've made a video like this where I'm just kind of walking and talking into the camera outside, especially. Um, and this was kind of just I wasn't really planning on making this one, but it was just kind of spur of the moment. It's April 3rd, Friday, and right now it's about 65 or 66 degrees out or something like that. It's partly cloudy or mostly cloudy, I guess. But yeah, it's what time is it? It's like 5. It's actually like 6:30, and there's still a pretty good amount of daylight, I guess. So yeah, give that um during the winter those short as fuck um days or whatever daylight, short as fuck amount of daylight. That's that's sort of out the window right now. It's kind of weird. Seems like almost a 3 hour difference or something like that. Almost like a 3 hour difference or something like that compared to what it was with the daylight at least. And yeah, just look. I mean, I don't know. I don't usually go out at this time, like this late, if you want to call it that, in the evening. But yeah, goddamn, there's a lot of fucking cars out, and a lot of people. I mean, it makes sense. Pretty good amount of people with how nice it is, I guess, how comfortable it is. But yeah, a fucking shit ton of cars coming around for whatever goddamn reason. But yeah, I figured, haven't taken a nice walk outside in quite a while, might as well take the opportunity while it's pretty nice out right now and stuff. Why not? And I also had some stuff to say. I was thinking I could just say it in my, in my room like I usually would. But I was like, yeah, like I said, might as well take a walk. Might as well take a nice walk outside. I guess I might as well just kind of do circuits around this, whatever you call this wake house or funeral home or whatever. Because the parking lot is completely empty, right? Or no, almost completely empty right now, so fuck it. But yeah, the main thing I wanted to kind of talk about just for a little bit was Billy's video that he released. Billy's video that he released only to the whatever as unlisted videos to the private group or whatever. And kind of the main point that he was getting at with his the guy he considered a sort of longtime friend or whatever. I guess it was an older guy. I don't know if he was that much older than him, or yeah, I guess he was. It sounded like he was almost like 20 years older than him or some shit like that, from what it sounded like. But basically saying that dude was recently, like, apparently, I don't know if he was arrested and put in prison or if he was just put in detained or whatever. From what it sort of sounded like, he was just straight up, put in, like, prison, not just, like, a local prison, but, whatever. I don't know, like, not a temporary thing, like, as if he was tried almost. I don't know the exact details of that, but it kind of sounded like that. But basically kind of his main point that it seems like the you know, this realm or whatever, this reality, this construct, simulation, whatever, as he calls it, the as he terms it, the dark reality, um, being the dark reality, the way he terms it, always, no matter what headway he seems to make, no matter no matter how it seems like good things or good luck is happening to him, it always finds a way to attack him in a way, or bring him down a peg, even if he seems to be having a bout of good luck, you know, recently with his getting that truck, getting that new, oh, I don't know about new, but getting a it's not a brand new fucking truck. It's not like 2025 or whatever. Not that I don't think anybody would really even should have one of those pieces of shit, probably, because they're all probably pieces of shit, 2025. But a new truck for him, getting that, and apparently getting a good amount of potential and confirmed leads or work for his landscaping business and stuff, customers, whatever you want to say, accounts, whatever. All that happening. I don't know if we mentioned a few other things, but those are like the main ones. Yeah, but then he obviously has stuff happening, like now he's been having to deal with you know, getting evicted, you know, technically or whatever, being told that he has to leave his current place that he's residing in. I think he mentioned, I don't know if it was, I'm gonna guess from the urgency or whatever, and the fact that he's still there. Unless maybe tomorrow he's supposed to be leaving, or if he meant the Saturday coming up, the next Saturday, I don't know. But the fact that he's being sort of kicked out of the place that he's living in right now by that stupid, crazy landlord bitch or whatever, for fucking retarded reasons, being her whatever dog die. I mean, hey, I don't know. Maybe she has plans to be getting out of there, some dumb shit. It doesn't really sound like it, so it sounds like a very arbitrary, dumb reason to tell somebody that she's been having lived there to basically leave or whatever the fuck, to me, but whatever. Maybe it's a blessing in disguise, it sounds like, in some ways. But in that sense. But then, obviously, this thing coming up as just another thing for him, as something to just bring him down. Like, there's seemingly all this suddenly good stuff that's coming, this good luck, and then it just has some other shit coming up out of nowhere to, and in this case, it does sound like it was quite out of nowhere, like somebody that he hasn't really interacted with for like over 10 years, seemingly, and then suddenly the guy starts showing up, sort of, you know, in his local sphere or whatever, seeing the guy in public, and then suddenly he hears that this guy is being arrested for, like, supposedly, you know, charges of, like, whatever, you know, soliciting prostitution or incest or whatever the fuck. And just on that, as Billy, you mentioned, and you have the kind of suspicion or whatever, not that there's probably really any quote-unquote concrete evidence you could really have for or against it in this case. He's just kind of going by hearsay and rumor or whatever from third parties, and they're going by third parties and all that shit. But to me, it kind of sounds like, as you alluded to in one of your messages in the Discord, that you think that it was a setup. And I have no clue who this guy is or any of that shit, obviously. But just from what it sounds like, yeah, I would kind of have my suspicions too, is that kind of thing sounds almost like it was a setup or or just a, false bullshit made up accusation that was believed outright by the quote-unquote authorities or whatever the fuck, and then this guy's just being charged with all this shit just for by false accusations or whatever. I'm kind of leaning towards something like that probably, but I have no clue. But it kind of just gives me that suspicion or feeling. But neither here nor there. The kind of main point being the whole dark reality doing all it can to bring you down kind of shit. Even when you have some good luck finally come up here and there, it always finds a way to try and bring you back down in some form or another. And I would say that I've mentioned this a pretty good amount of times myself. Not exactly, obviously, how you're saying it or how you're possibly looking at it or whatever, but I would say probably in the sort of, not exactly this, but the sort of yin-yang shit where, I don't know if the yin-yang is a good way to put it, really, but I guess sort of just the idea of the balance of things is that this place sort of, even though obviously it seems like there is an imbalance no matter what, more towards the negative in a lot of ways, but then again, maybe that is potentially mostly our own perception and bias towards focusing or having our attention gotten more onto the negative aspects of stuff than anything. So, but I would think most people would probably say that a lot of stuff leans more towards the sort of negative balance or the negative side of the scales than the positive overall. But yeah, as I said, it could be potentially just our bias to focus on the negative more than the positive, potentially. But I don't know. It's just one of those things that I wanted to bring up, as I think that's sort of kind of how this place works. And then one could also make the argument, well, what about those people that are nepotism? They've had their whole lives that, like, did somebody say in a comment or some shit or something, either you linked or somebody or something? I think it was, I forget, I think I know, it was on that stupid, that one subreddit, like, poverty finance or some shit, and some person brought up something about their cousin, or, I don't know, something like that, some acquaintance or some shit, basically telling them, giving them unsolicited advice, saying, like, why aren't you able to save any money, or some shit like that, but then they look at that person's background or whatever the hell, or just like just that person's history, and it's like that person didn't work ever, and they have all their money because of their parents were like millionaires or some bullshit like that. So like all of their shit has been through nepotism, no work of their own, no hardship of their own. So yeah, one could say, like, where is the balance there? And that's a good point. But then again, I don't know if these people, maybe there's a complete different, there's potentially the idea of the NPCs and stuff. There's a complete no rule like that for the NPCs. It's just kind of like whatever script that they have to play, they play. So I don't know. Maybe right then that kind of stuff would be see it as kind of like a bullshit. But then I was watching some video about the Oblivion remaster bullshit or whatever, and the only reason I'm bringing this up is because that game, as well as from Morrowind, from Elder Scrolls 3 Morrowind, all the way up to Skyrim, the Elder Scrolls V, so for Morrowind, Oblivion, and Skyrim, they all had, by default, in the settings of the game, a difficulty slider. And in almost every case with this difficulty slider is a fucking really bare bones, bullshit, mathematical formula change, like, with no, like, almost no nuance or finesse or whatever. Like, just the laziest kind of difficulty slider you could really have. But I guess one could say, well, at least it's there. But, the point being, like, you know, if you wanna go on that side that we've chose to come here, is that maybe if you want to look at it in more of a video game sort of sense or whatever, which I do in a lot of ways, that when we decided to come here, that we all kind of had to select a difficulty. So I mean, even many games before those kind of games had difficulty settings in some cases, usually stuff like easy, normal, hard, that kind of shit. So maybe if you want to look at it like that, this reality and this existence here is, there is, before you come here, you give yourself, you choose a setting, a difficulty setting or something like that, and that changes the balance of how far the negatives or the positive sides can go out of balance within some threshold or some shit like that. I think you probably get what I'm trying to say here. So, like, maybe Billy, you put it on hard or something, and there is allowed to be a balance of 75% negative, 25% positive, or some shit like that. So something like that. But then these other people, these nepotism people, they picked easy, and they have a 25% negative, 75% positive kind of like threshold that they're given for a balance of their the stuff in their life or whatever, the events that happen in their life and shit, the hardships and positives that come about, the luck, quote unquote, the luck and stuff. You know, it's just one way to put it. Or to potentially look at it. Now, I'm not saying that right now, or anything that actually would, like, you know, help in a quote unquote practical way to you know, maybe in a mental way it could help to help sort out some of this stuff and sort of potentially better understand or cope or deal with whatever the stuff that comes your way, seeing it like, you know, I potentially sort of chose this balance, this difficulty, this difficulty setting. I chose to pick the hard difficulty or some shit. I don't know. But then sort of my own example is that I kind of also know, or just with that in mind, I was going to bring up my own kind of example, like, I'm pretty certain, just the way that I've sort of seen the patterns with this place and everything, is that, as I've mentioned many times, like, at this point in my circumstances in life or whatever, right now, my mom is my biggest, as Rudy would say it, she is like almost my handler, as he kind of called it. I would say she's almost like, she's my primary limiter in a way. She's the one that is meant to keep me in that balance, in that check, to keep certain things from going too positive or whatever. She's there to be the negative balance, to keep that balance in balance or whatever, to keep that in balance. Keep that balance in check. And she has no, at least I think, she has no idea of any of that, or whatever, no concept of any of that, no idea that she is doing that. But I feel like she is that, from all her actions and stuff like that, she is there to do that. It just seems very obvious to me. But I also kind of realized that, like, say if I decided to, like, move out of here, some shit like that, or something, whatever happened, if she somehow became out of the picture, or whatever. Like if I moved out of here or something happened to her, which I don't think it will, but if that was the case, there would be something else that would probably fairly quickly. It would be difficult to potentially gauge consciously, to be like, oh yeah, it took like 2 weeks for something else to come up or some shit. But it would. That's my feeling or theory, whatever you want to say. My hunch, my instinct, whatever, my intuition saying that there would be something else that would come up to be the limiter. It would be, and it doesn't necessarily have to be, all at once, one single entity. It could definitely, in your case, death by 1,000 cuts or whatever you want to say. Like, it could be many little things, incremental things, that would just kind of be like, come up here and there. Or it could be one big thing, like another person that would be that kind of thing. I don't know, like another a fucking piece of shit, like neighbor or some bullshit, or like a false accusation or a false charge or something like that. Some bullshit like that. It would eventually come up to be that same, to fill that same purpose of being some kind of limiter. Now, it might be a different flavor of that, but it would still serve the same purpose. Like, say, if I wanted to be doing, like, more cooking or baking stuff, because I would have more freedom of feeling comfortable just being in the kitchen or downstairs and not having to constantly be cleaning up her stupid messes and shit, or whatever. Maybe the oven would start acting up more often or not working as well, so I would have to be constantly trying to fuck with that or fix it or something or or whatever. Or some other thing would start happening. It's just, I think, just the way that this kind of reality seems to work, from what I've kind of ascertained, and, it's 100% just my own observation and theory here. But yeah, it's just, there's always going to be this balance, quote-unquote balance, depending on what your set difficulty was. Depending on what your set difficulty was, there's always going to be a balance towards whatever. So when some good luck comes, there will always be some bad luck, or whatever you want to call it, something to come and bring that down in some way, shape, or form. And it doesn't necessarily have to all be the same kind of flavor. It's just like, you could do it incrementally, you could do it all at once, you could do it over time as like a person or some shit, an entity, whatever, a demon, whatever you want to say. Or maybe even just something like, suddenly you start feeling shittier, like your body starts to ache more, or something like that. Just something will be there to balance it out. Because I don't want to necessarily say, bring it down. Because, that's usually what we'll notice, is the thing that brings it down, not so much as the positives or whatever. Like, we'll bring those up potentially, but we won't notice them as much as we'll be like, oh man, that thing brought me down. But I just want to say, there'd be something there to balance it out back to that threshold of difficulty we have set, potentially. We have set ourselves on. And yeah, I don't know, that was just kind of the main thing I wanted to kind of ramble about, get that thought out of my mind. And while I'm taking a nice little walk, and the sun is starting to set. It's probably around 6:45 it started to set, I would say, if that's what setting is. I'm not exactly sure the exact terminology, if that's really setting, or if it has to be getting like really dark before it's considered sunset. But yeah, around 6:45 seems to be around that time. But yeah, that was the main thing I wanted to bring up, and hopefully anybody finds this potentially interesting, or maybe useful, or whatever. But yeah, that's the main thing I wanted to talk about, and I'm just going to start walking back home, and I'll upload this when I get back in the house. But yeah, thanks for listening, thanks for watching, and take care. See you in the next one.